Today, we've got ourselves a rather different video when it comes to the topic of Pokemon abilities. If you remember a while back, I made a video talking about some incredible abilities, and I figured today, why not have a hypothetical conversation, where we put new abilities on Pokemon we know and love. Basically, what I've got for you today is a list of 10 I've put together of new abilities on Pokemon, using only the Pokemon available in Pokemon Sword and Shield, as of the Isle of Armor DLC. I looked for abilities that didn't make Pokemon broken, but instead helped make them even better than they already were, or perhaps help them become good in the first place. Don't expect to see anything overdone, like Wonder Guard's Spirit Tomb, or something ridiculous like Gorilla Tactics Gigalith, or anything like that. No. Instead, there's going to be a method to the madness here, and I hope you guys enjoy it. Before we fully get started though, remember that currently right now, over on our gaming channel MysticSage, we have the best Team for Kanto Remastered Let's Play going on right now, so be sure to check that out in the description and in the iCard above. Also be sure to check out our anime channel MysticSage and my other social media platforms. Links for those will also be in the description and iCard. With that being said, I hope you enjoyed the video. Alright, so kicking things off here, I want to go with something a little basic that fits thematically with the Pokemon, even if it isn't like something major. Poltigeist is a really interesting Pokemon that came around in Galar, and normally it has the abilities Weak Armor and Cursed Body, and both of those are definitely a bit fitting for a Pokemon like Poltigeist. When it comes to Weak Armor, an ability like that perhaps doesn't work super well for Poltigeist in the long run, since more often than not, Ghost types tend to have to worry about moves that don't actually make contact with them. So the opportunity for Weak Armor to activate and boost its speed isn't always there. Now, Cursed Body definitely has a better chance of activating, since it's basically going to activate a third of the time and disable a move that the opponent just used to damage it. I'd say Cursed Body is a better ability than Weak Armor, but I feel that neither of them truly do Poltigeist true justice. The ability that I have in mind to give the Poltigeist is actually one you'd normally find on a Poison-type Pokemon, and that is Liquid Ooze. I know that it isn't a Poison type, and the two lines that have this ability are, but I don't think it's really necessary for Poltigeist to actually have that Poison typing. If we take a look at the Pokedex entry for the antique form of Poltigeist in Pokemon Shield, it mentions that when it gets angry, it will shoot tea from its body into the offender's mouth, which when swallowed will cause strong chills and essentially make whoever swallowed it a bit sick. So when a Pokemon happens to use Leech Seed on Poltigeist, or perhaps uses a move like Leech Life or Dream Eater, or even all the Grass-type Drain moves, a Pokemon will instead be getting hurt when using any move like that on Poltigeist instead of regaining health. This is a thematically brilliant ability change in my opinion, and while it might still not be one that gets a lot of traction as the Ghost typing resists a lot of the moves I mentioned, it still would work fantastically. So next up, I've got a Pokemon here, which is another one fresh out of Galar. The Pokemon Stonejourner isn't one I'm all that interested in, due to its sort of boring design and a few other factors. I mean, just look at it. It looks like a bunch of rocks to the face. Who cares? Sure, it's supposed to be a Pokemon based off of Stonehenge, but honestly it just reminds me of if you turn Electrode into a rock type. It's not for me. But that doesn't mean it's a bad Pokemon. Stonejourner has a base 125 attack, 135 defense, and 100 speed, which means it's got a great amount of physical bulk. It can take some hits and clearly hit hard back, and even has base 70 speed, which is a lot better than I'd think a Pokemon like this would have. While there are some good stats around Stonejourner, its ability doesn't really offer much if you're not in a double battle. So where does it leave you when you're using it in a playthrough or in a one-on-one battle online? Power Spot is absolutely useless if you're not in a double battle, but when it is used in doubles, it's really not that bad, because it will increase the power of your Pokemon's moves by 30%. What can we do to make Stonejourner better, but not broken at all? Well, I thought about it, and then looking over its move pool and reading its Pokedex entries, I figured we could probably give Stonejourner no guard. So this ability basically makes it so any move that is used by this Pokemon, or that this Pokemon is used on it, cannot miss. A big thing about Stonejourner that is mentioned in its Pokedex entry is that it has a talent for delivering kicks, and yet its only kick-related move is Mega Kick, and that has only 75% accuracy. So with no guard, you have no chance of ever missing this powerful base 120 normal type move. And there's some other great moves that I won't miss either, like Stone Edge and Rock Slide, which are stab. Like I said, I didn't want to give Stonejourner something that would make it broken, but instead, I settled on something that could work thematically and at least make it a little bit more useful when it's on the field alone. So this next one is a little different from the last two, and one that I just thought seemed a bit cool. Snorlax is of course a Pokemon I like a whole lot, and one that is very popular among the fanbase. It's got 3 pretty good abilities already, with Immunity, Thick Fat, and its hidden ability, Gluttony. All 3 of those actually fit the theme here when it comes to Snorlax, as it's fat, has the ability to eat tons of gross stuff, and be fine, and is also naturally a gluten because of those things. I needed to come up with something decently different, and something that could somehow help out Snorlax in the long run. It's good that it can't be poisoned at all with immunity, but the other two abilities I actually don't think are all that helpful when it comes to the defenses of Snorlax. Sure, with Gluttony, it'll consume a berry earlier on than it usually would, and Thick Fat definitely helps when dealing with fire and ice type moves, but it isn't like Snorlax is weak to either of those typings. No. See, what Snorlax needs is something that'll help it get around its low defense stat. How about we give it an ability like Color Change? Currently, only Kecleon can get Color Change, and that makes sense, since it's a chameleon. However, I think it can be justified on Snorlax, as it's possible that its body is capable of responding to the type of hits it takes in the same way that it is able to process ingesting rotten and moldy food with no bad side effects, as its Pokedex entry in Pokemon Shield points out. It's pretty clear that Snorlax's body will go out of its way to help prevent any unnecessary damage, or at least adapt to damage being done. So its typing changing to that of the hit it just took could make some sense, as to not have the same move do as much damage the next time around. This could then make it a bit harder to take out Snorlax, as you're already going to need to turn to physical moves anyway, and if it ends up being a typing that resists a strong physical move, its chances of staying on the battlefield longer are a lot better. As it stands now, a well-placed close combat is more than likely all it would take to knock out Snorlax fast, but if somehow Snorlax managed to become a Psychic type or Fairy type prior by switching in the Tick of Moonblast or Psychic, it now resists that move, and extra planning will then need to be taken into consideration by an opponent. Once again, I just feel this would be a cool extra dynamic Snorlax could have, and this ability can be justified. So for this next one, we're going to be talking about one of the best bug-type Pokemon introduced in the last few generations, Alola's Glycopod. So here's the deal with Glycopod. I know full well that its ability Emergency Exit is a pretty big part of it as a Pokemon, and I know that a Glycopod without the ability almost doesn't make sense. However, since this is a video where we give new abilities to the Pokemon, it's okay if we just talk about this. It's not like a departure from Emergency Exit would happen, but boy, if there was just some other option for this thing, it would be awesome. Emergency Exit is an ability that kicks in when Glycopod goes beneath half of its HP in battle under most circumstances, and it leads to it withdrawing to its Pokeball, and a new Pokemon is sent out in its place at the choice of the trainer. It's pretty straightforward, but is honestly a bit of a shame, since you could have spent time setting up Glycopod for success, only for it to be pulled out of battle, and thus ruining your hard work. I mean, the thing has got base 125 attack and an absolutely astonishing base 140 defense, which is complemented by a very decent base 90 special defense. This Pokemon has got the defensive bulk, but even that can't always stop it from at least having its HP drop below half pretty quickly. Now, my idea is to give Glycopod the ability Anger Point, and I think that works pretty well with the kind of Pokemon it is. Think about it for a moment. When you look at Glycopod, doesn't it just radiate an aura of being a bit mean? Like, it's really fed up with the way it was treated as a Wimpod, and now it's just absolutely angry and has had enough of everyone else looking down on it. It's got that high attack stat, and it's very capable of taking hits. Its only real issue is bad speed, and even that makes it get more and more angry in battle. Suddenly it gets hit with Slash from some random Pokemon, and it takes a critical hit, and thanks to Anger Point kicking in, it is now max attack. It hits back with a monstrously powerful Liquidation or Leech Life, possibly getting all that HP back, on top of one-hitting whatever just critted it. Then for the rest of the battle, it's calling upon Sucker Punch, and either knocking out everything it hits, or coming very close. Do you see now why this is such an exciting ability to think about having on Glycopod? It can max out its own attack from taking a critical hit, and in that same turn, use Leech Life, and get all of its health back, on top of knocking out whatever just critted it, thanks to an attack stat that's now over 1100. I don't think I need to say much more, but Glycopod's potential would go up a lot more with an ability like Anger Point. Closing out this half of the list is one I thought of as more of a, yeah, that would be pretty good than anything else. I took a look at Alcreamy, and I felt that its two abilities, Sweet and Aromavale, just weren't the pinnacle of where a Pokemon like Alcreamy could go, even if they were both pretty fitting. Instead, I thought about the ability Unburden, and figured that something like this would be a great one as well. See, Alcreamy holding a berry makes tons of sense for obvious reasons, and being able to use one and then get a speed boost is great. For instance, Alcreamy has base 110 special attack and 121 special defense, making it a great candidate for running Calm Mind and then just building itself up to be great. If you really wanted to, you could easily max out its speed and special defense and then give it a Citrus Berry. And while you're busy using Calm Mind to up its stats, once the berry activates, you'll get some health back and a boost to speed that'll definitely allow it to outspeed anything at about base 500 speed. There's not much more to say about this one. It's pretty straightforward. Unburdened Alcreamy would be a great Pokemon to pull out and probably move it up into the OU tier. So earlier I mentioned we wouldn't have entries on here that were ones that had been talked about to death, like Spiritomb with Wonder Guard. But in thinking about it, this entry might be one that has been discussed before, and perhaps even has been thought of by some of you watching this. I'm talking about Flygon and the ability Thick Fat. Now, Flygon already has the ability Levitate, which is one that's very good, but almost has no real usage for Flygon. Sure, it makes plenty of sense since it has wings, but there are a lot of other Pokemon with wings that aren't flying types that don't get Levitate. Flygon should be able to take moves like Earthquake and Earth Power rather normally with its base 80 defenses. So why bother having an ability like Levitate? It just feels like a waste, and there are plenty of other abilities that could work with Flygon better. The one I'm talking about though, as I said, is Thick Fat. It's no surprise to associate Flygon with an ability like Thick Fat, since it would help majorly with its one major weakness, which is the ice typing. It can already handle itself against fire types, but it desperately needs something to deal with ice moves. Now, I can already hear some of you guys typing away about how I said I wasn't going to make any Pokemon broken with these abilities. And I want you to understand that this ability is far from breaking Flygon. Even if you cut the damage in half that Flygon would take from a well-placed Ice Beam or Blizzard, you still might not be able to prevent it from being one-hit. Also, it isn't the only Pokemon with a 4x weakness to Ice or Fire that has this ability, as Appleton has Thick Fat as a hidden ability. It would just help out Flygon majorly to give it some sort of a way to deal with Ice-type moves, so it can have the chance to go deeper into battles. It's sad enough that it never Mega Evolved, so I just wish Game Freak would do something for this guy to help it out. Everyone loves Flygon. Alright, so coming up next, we return to abilities that I believe work with the theme of a Pokemon, just beyond them being good abilities. Sudowoodo has got access to a handful of pretty decent abilities, those being Rockhead, Sturdy, and Rattled. Now, make no mistake about it, Sturdy is the quintessential ability for a Pokemon like Sudowoodo. It is a rock type and is naturally designed to look like a tree, so it being able to stand sturdy like one is perfect. However, Rockhead and Rattled just don't sell Sudowoodo for me as well, so I'm not a huge fan, and figured a pretty good ability it could have that would fit with the tree gimmick along with Sturdy would definitely be Effect Spore. So how did it get Effect Spore as an ability, and how does it make sense? Well, if you guys look back to the Johto games and Pokemon Emerald, you'd recall that Sudowoodo can be found just sitting in place, almost like actual trees just blocking the road. It's entirely possible that Pokemon that aren't threatening to it, like bugs, can be around it or possibly on it, thus leaving behind residue for moves like Poison Powder, Stun Spore, or Sleep Powder on its arms. I can totally see a Sudowoodo being attacked, causing its arm to flail, and this powder to get all over the attacking Pokemon, giving it an opportunity to cause some sort of status element. I always wished Pokemon would go even further with the tree gimmick on Sudowoodo, and I feel like an ability like this would be a great chance to, without going too far like making it a grass type or something. Plus, if you had this ability alongside Sturdy, it would be cool with the lore, and thinking that a Sudowoodo that has Effect Spore isn't as inclined to run away if it gets wet. Well, this next one is a little bittersweet in a way. I'm going to be talking about Gengar, and it's sort of a shame that there even needed to be a conversation about giving it some sort of new ability, as it had a perfect one prior to the 7th generation, that being Levitate. It's sad, however, as for whatever reason, Game Freak felt compelled to take Levitate away from Gengar, and instead, it just has Curse Body and nothing else. Now, that isn't a horrible ability as we discussed earlier with Poltigeist, however, it doesn't hold a candle to what Levitate offered Gengar. Now it's got nothing that keeps it from eating an Earthquake, and probably getting taken out of just a single hit. I had to sit down and think for a bit about an ability that really gives Gengar something over the top about it again, beyond its great special attack and speed. Finally, it hit me that its new ability could be not only brilliant in regards to its lore, but also one that could pay off big time for it and really shove it up super high in the OU tier, almost leaving it banned. I know I didn't want to make Pokemon broken or anything in this video, but hear me out. What if we gave Gengar the ability Bad Dreams, only exclusively available to Darkrai since its debut? That's right, I'm talking about Gengar to have the ability to perpetually give Pokemon a nightmare every turn that they're asleep. This makes a ton of sense, as Gengar is a massive predator of Pokemon, and often it goes after humans hiding in the shadows looking for a chance to strike. Just having a Gengar near a sleeping Pokemon should be enough to force them to have bad dreams if you ask me. I think this would be a fantastic ability for Gengar that could honestly rival Levitate on it. And it's not even that broken when you think that Gengar still needs to put opposing Pokemon to sleep using less than stellar methods like Hypnosis. This idea is one I'm really into, and would love to see someday if Game Freak ever decided to make Bad Dreams a more inclusive ability. So it's penultimate time, as we're on our second to last Pokemon we're going to be talking about today. And this one, I definitely came at from a competitive side of looking at things. I'm talking about one of the favorite walls of each gen since its introduction, Ferrothorn. This Pokemon has two abilities, already being Iron Barbs and Anticipation. Now, Iron Barbs makes plenty of sense. So much that I didn't think I could actually think of an ability that actually should replace it and would actually be as fitting. Anticipation, on the other hand, is not a bad ability for Ferrothorn to have, but it really isn't anything special either. So, in taking the time to think about just what kind of Pokemon Ferrothorn is and what ability I could give it that would make it even better, I read over its Pokedex entries and determined that Ferrothorn is actually a rather crafty Pokemon. Now, despite being very crafty, there is an idea made from these entries that perhaps Ferrothorn is really good at staying away from some stuff, and can at times be a little oblivious. I guess that about seals the deal then. I would give Ferrothorn Oblivious as an ability, and it would be a massive boost to an already good Pokemon. The big thing I look at when I think of Ferrothorn having Oblivious is its new immunity to moves like Taunt. As we all know, Ferrothorn is a big-time wall at competitive, but a part of being able to neutralize it is by using Taunt, so it can't get off moves like Protect and Leech Seed, or set up things like Spikes and Stealth Rocks. Something like Oblivious would prevent Ferrothorn from being taunted, and that's the only way to stop it from setting up on you would be to immediately try and neutralize it with a well-placed Fire-type move or something else like Close Combat or Focus Blast. I don't think this ability would be at all broken if on Ferrothorn, but it would definitely make it even better than it already is, and create new options for it beyond something like Iron Barb's Rocky Helmet. Well, the argument can most definitely be made that I saved the best Pokemon for last here, as I sort of think that this one is possibly the best of the 10 I came up with. There was one Pokemon that instantly came to mind that was once a dominant force, and while it has seen a resurgence in Sword and Shield, I honestly don't think it even really gets back to its greatness from its debut in Black and White. If you couldn't have guessed, I'm talking about Hydreigon. My issue with it is that with the fairy typing going around, it is forever going to be a risk to run with since it will almost always get rocked out by a fairy type attack. I know some people have worked around it, but I instead had the idea of giving it a better ability than Levitate so it can just handle dealing with fairy types better than it does, and that's become even more of a threat. The thing that made Dragonite better when the 5th generation came around was the introduction of Multiscale, and that ability made it so it would be able to take at least one Ice Beam or Blizzard at full health. My thought process is to of course give Hydreigon the Multiscale ability as well, so it can take a Moonblast or Play Rough and still manage to get off a Nasty Plot so it can try and sweep the opponent. Why not have this ability instead of something borderline unnecessary like Levitate? I know I'd much rather have something to counter a 4x weakness over an Earthquake, and I'm sure I'm not the only person who feels that way. This just makes a ton of sense to me, and it would cap off a perfect renaissance that Hydreigon has been experiencing in Sword and Shield. Well everybody, that's going to do it for this video. I had a lot of fun researching this and thinking of a few different Pokemon to try and include here. The best part about a video like this is there really isn't any being wrong. We can all have an opinion or an idea for what would help make a Pokemon better. And I feel that down in the comments, we all might be able to have a nice conversation about these 10 Pokemon and more. I'll be thinking of some more to do, by the way, so we may have another video like this in the future if you guys are interested. If you enjoyed the video, why not leave a like and subscribe to my channel with notifications on, that way you never miss an upload. If you want to support me further, consider following my Twitch where I stream all sorts of games from Pokemon to Fire Emblem to Zelda and much more. I also have an anime channel called MysticSage where I do anime reviews, rankings, and countdowns, so if you're interested in that kind of content, go ahead and check that out as well. If you want to support me even further and gain cool perks, check out my Patreon. These lovely people have all given me their support over there and I couldn't be more grateful to them. I think I'm gonna wrap this up though. I'm Mystic Umbreon and I will see you in the future for more awesome Pokemon content.